G'day everyone, Mark Knights from the Pathfinder Chronicles. I'm getting a bit sick of typing, so I thought every Saturday now I'll make it a video blog while I'm at work here at the service station, something to do. It may mean that I do have to duck off and serve cars every now and again, but we'll see how we go. Today I'm going to talk about the first adventure path I ran, Serpent Skull. There's a fair bit of material from the Serpent Skull days, but it's minute detail. It's not sort of like an overall review, and I want to talk about Serpent Skull Adventure Path. Adventure paths are obviously a thing that I do with Paizo for Pathfinder. They come out, they have a module. 6 modules make up an adventure path, and they do them a module a month sort of thing. The modules themselves, unless you play a massive amount, take more than a month to run, so there's plenty of material there. I'm a subscriber to their adventure paths and quite like them. The only one that I haven't liked was Shattered Star, and that was because it was just dungeon, and just because they could a dungeon, and not my style of adventure path. I would like to say that Serpent Skull was something that I researched incredibly to become my first adventure path, but what in reality happened was my local gaming store, which actually is an online gaming store, I went online, I found the only adventure path that they actually had all 6 books for in stock, and I bought them, had them sent to me, and decided, hey, that looks cool, that'll do. So we started off with Serpent Skull. Serpent Skull, the generic plot is the players start on a ship, and the ship gets shipwrecked on this island, and essentially they go through and they find out that the person that shipwrecked them, because it was a purposeful shipwreck, not an accidental one, that the person that shipwrecked them was after some knowledge to an ancient city that exists in the Mwangi jungle. And essentially this legendary city was meant to be paved with streets of gold and stuff like that. And then when they do a bit of travel and they get to the legendary city after finding the map there, they then research and have a look around the city and find out what it was all about, and they find out that there was a great war between the Aslanti and Serpent folk, who are basically snakes with legs. And then they find out that the Serpent folk aren't as dead as they had thought, and it was all tied up with the Serpent folk god, Odysseus. Well, that's how I pronounce it anyway. Somebody from Paizo probably just spewed their coffee all over their computer. And Odysseus had his head severed, but it didn't kill the god. And essentially what it comes down to is the Serpent folk are trying to put the skull back with the body and get Odysseus active again, so the Serpent folk can rise up and take over the dawning world again. So it's a 6 series of modules that spans basically that plot line. Starts off brilliantly, and this is, I think, where it hooked me in. The Souls for Smuggler's Shiv is one of the best modules I've ever read and played and run. It's almost pure sandbox. The players end up on an island, and they can explore that island as they will, and over exploration of that island, essentially the story gets drawn out. So it's really good, and the players loved it. I think if you were to ask the players which was their favourite module, it would be the first one. Souls for Smuggler's Shiv is just an absolute brilliant module. The whole idea, there's one of the players, his character Seracule / Hank, he's an alchemist master chemist. He seriously wants to go back, or wanted to go back and inhabit Souls for Smuggler's Shiv. I'll be back in a moment, I've just got a cut. So, back again. So yeah, Souls for Smuggler's Shiv, great sandbox adventure, but then that adventure takes you into Racing to Ruin, where the players are essentially rushing to a ruin that they know exists, which is meant to have the map to the hidden city in it, and they're racing a bunch of other factions, etc. Now this module was probably my least favourite of the entire series. It was horridly scripted. It was, you know, keep moving, keep moving, keep moving, and it was sort of like an extensive module that took me probably a couple of months to get through, month and a half, 2 months worth of gaming, and it was just a travel module, and I didn't think it was terribly well balanced in that it didn't give out the right experience amounts and stuff like that, and it became quite difficult. But then past that, you get to the point, they get the map, they head, which isn't very far away, and they find the city, and that's the next module, the City of Seven Spears, and it becomes a very big, broad sandbox again, where they get to explore the city. And again, a tale comes out that there's another city that lays underneath it called Elmuria. And that leads into probably my favourite adventure, not the players. The players would be Souls for Smuggler's Shiv, but my favourite adventure, which is Vaults of Madness. Now, Vaults of Madness is the hunt to find the way underground to this underground city. And essentially there are 7 vaults. 7's a big theme in Paizo's adventure paths. Don't know why. It is. They don't ever explain it, but there are 7 sectors, and each of the sectors has a vault that has some kind of secret, so you go into it. One of them was negotiating with a giant spider, and, well, negotiating, I suppose many people just turn up and try and kill it. My players, surprisingly enough, negotiated. But they're going through these vaults that are filled with these spores that turn people crazy and stuff, so we had a lot of fun with that. Well, I had a lot of fun with that. The players were frustrated as all get up with it. After the Vaults of Madness, they get to explore the underground city, although it's sort of a mixture between scripted and sandboxy type material as they get into Elmuria. Quite a fun adventure where they actually start facing Serpent folk a lot. But the thing is, they get in there and they don't really come across the Serpent folk for quite some time and have to deal with all these other denizens that exist in this underground city. That they weren't expecting, which I liked as well. So the Thousand Fangs Below is that module, and it's quite good. So by the time at the end of the Thousand Fangs Below, they know what they've got to do, they know what's going on, they have to deal with it, and they have to stop that ritual. And that all happens in the Sanctum of the Serpent God, which essentially they go back underground, they lead armies down, so the armies take on, well, they've got to win armies over, negotiate to get armies to fight for them, and then they've got to take those armies down and take out the temple in a massive battle, the culmination of which is fairly cool. It's a massive battle. Anyway, I'll see you in just a second. I've got a customer. Well, a couple of customers later, and here we are again. So what I really want to say about this adventure path in conclusion is that it's a good, fun adventure path, but it has some problems. The first problem about it is you start off with this massive sandbox, do it in your own time, do whatever the hell you want adventure, and then the rest become quite pressured, you know. Oh, have you got enough time to do that? Are you doing this right? Like, there are other factions, you know, and this is going to happen, and you've got to research this bit, and oh no, here come the Serpent folk. And my players really felt that. My players are people that like to explore, do bits and pieces, maybe broaden out a bit. And because I was doing this adventure path, I put some of my own stuff into it, but I pretty much followed it as it was meant to be. And my players really quite struggled with the fact that they couldn't just spend as much time as they want doing something. One of my players wanted to become, you know, an enchanter of magic items and stuff like that, and they just didn't have the time to do it. So that was really quite annoying. But on the whole, it's a good story. I found as a GM I got irritated at the end that it left so much open. I mean, they do that so you can take the players on, and I understand that, but they left huge amounts open. It really doesn't feel like a massive victory at the end of it. And my players felt that. They sort of got to the end and then they realised that they had this extra problem, which I'm not going to reveal on video, but they sort of went, well, you know, we didn't really win, did we? And that's not the effect that you want to get with a 6-part adventure series. Sure, have some extra bits that they can go on with. I felt that there was a lot there already, like the exploration of Savath's tomb and stuff like that. Perhaps you could have had something in there that would have sealed the doom of the Serpent folk forever if you went into Savith's tomb and stuff like that, but no, they left it very open and very broad, and yeah, I was a bit upset with it because of there was no yee-haw, like, I mean, there was a yee-haw, we survived the battle at the end, but so overall, probably 3 to 3.5 stars for this adventure path. It is good fun. I would probably, if it were me, take Souls for Smuggler's Shiv as a module and incorporate it into something else. I might also use the City of Seven Spears and incorporate it into something else. Race to Ruin, just take it out. Give the adventurers their levels for that section. Although it does build up the idea of factions and create a realistic world, I suppose. The Vaults of Madness was quite fun. Thousand Fangs Below was surprising for players, and Sanctum of Serpent God, a nice end, but it needs to be an end. So hopefully some of you play it though. Have a look on my blog, especially at some of the stuff that some people modelled, and that was modelled for the what part was that modelled on? That was for the second module, Racing to Ruin, the end section. They did an amazing job. It's a shame they didn't finish the adventure path. Anyway, this is me signing off. Keep rolling, and I'll catch you next Saturday to talk probably about another adventure path, or a book, or who knows. Whatever I want to dribble about. Thanks very much.